Hi and welcome back to another video. I'm still, it's still October, so I'm still gonna make horror inspired stuff and in general Halloween inspired videos until October is over. Then I have 3 videos prepared for after October, which is a new Finnish speaking video and a new German speaking video and one where I try to speak Spanish, which is not gonna sound good, but today I'm gonna read Pet Sematary by Stephen King because I wanted to read a horror book for one of my Halloween videos, but I don't have that many horror books. I love horror movies, but horror books is I only read Stephen King, and the only really famous Stephen King book I have is Pet Sematary. But then I also have Christine Sleepless in Swedish, Knackarna, which is a book translated to Swedish. I don't know what the English title is. I also have Strong and one that I don't even know what it's called. I don't remember what it's called right now, and I can't see it. And then I have The Institute as well. I also have Cujo and The City something. I forgot what it's called. Yeah. But I chose to read Pet Sematary because it's the most famous book. It's the most famous Stephen King book that I have. The most famous horror book in general that I have. I mostly read fantasy books or queer romance books, so yeah. And a little disclaimer, the chapters are really short, just so you won't get confused. I don't know. Anyway, chapter 1. Louis Creed, who had lost his father at 3 and oh my god, this is so bad. I'm sorry if I'm reading very slowly and maybe mispronounce certain words. I'm not fluent, or I am kind of fluent in English. I'm not good at English, okay? Louis Creed, who had lost his father at 3 and who had never known a grandfather, never expected to find a father as he entered his middle age. But that was exactly what happened. Although he called this man a friend, as a grown man must do when he finds the man who should have been his father. Relatively late in his life, he met this man on the evening. He and his wife. He met this man on the evening he and his wife and his 2 children moved into the big white frame house in Ludlow. Winston Churchill moved in with them. Church was his daughter Eline's cat. The search committee at the university had moved slowly. The search for a house within communicating distance of the university had been hair-raising, and by the time they neared the place where he believed the house to be, all the landmarks are right. Like the astrological signs the night before, Caesar was assassinated. I feel like I'm reading this with the wrong, punctuation sometimes. I'm sorry. All the landmarks are right, like the astrological signs the night before Caesar was assassinated, Louis thought morbidly. They were all tired and most tense and on edge. Gage was cutting teeth and fussed almost ceaselessly. He would not sleep no matter how much Rachel sang to him. She offered him the breast even though it was off his schedule. Gage knew his dining schedule as well as she. Better, maybe, and he promptly bit her with his new teeth. Rachel, still not entirely sure about this, moved to Maine from Chicago, where she lived her whole life. Burst into tears. Wait, what? Aileen joined her, apparently in some sort of mystic feminine sympathy. In the back of the station wagon, George continued to pace restlessly as he had done for the last 3 days it had taken them to drive here from Chicago. His yowling from the cat kennel had been bad, but his restless packing after they finally gave up and set him free in the car had been almost as unnerving. Louis himself felt a little like crying. A wild but not unattractive idea suddenly came to him. He would suggest that they go back to Bangor for something to eat while they waited for the moving van. And when his 3 hostages to fortune got out, he would floor the accelerator and drive away without so much as a look back. Foot to the mat, the wagon's huge 4-barrel carburetor gobbling expensive gasoline. He would drive south all the way to Orlando, Florida, where he would get a job at Disney World as a medic under a new name. But before he hit the turnpike, big old 95 southbound, he would stop by the side of the road and put the fucking cat out too. What? Then they rounded a final curve and there was the house that only he had seen until now. He had flown out. Oh shit. He had flown out and that. Wait, I'm sorry. Oh shit. He had flown out and looked at each other of the 7 possibles that they had picked from photos. Once the position at the university was solidly his, and this was the one he had chosen, a big old New England colonial, but newly sided and insulated. The heating costs, oh my god. The heating costs, while horrible enough, were not out of line in terms of consumption. 3 big rooms downstairs, 4 more up, a long shed that might be converted to more rooms later on. All of it surrounded by a luxuriant sprawl of lawn, lushly green even in this August heat. Beyond the house was a large field for the children to play in, and beyond the field were woods that went on damn near forever. The property abutted state lands, the realtor had explained, and there would be no development in the foreseeable future. The remains of the Mi'kmaq Indian tribe had laid claim to nearly 8,000 acres or something in Ludlow. And in the towns east of Ludlow and the complicated litigation involving the federal government as well as that of the state might stretch into the next century. Rachel stopped crying abruptly. She sat down. That's it, Louis said. He felt apprehensive. No, he felt scared. In fact, he felt terrified. He had mortgaged 12 years of their lives for this. It wouldn't be paid off until Aileen was 17, an unbelievable age. He swallowed. What do you think? I think it's beautiful, Rachel said, and that was a huge weight off his chest and off his mind. She wasn't kidding. He saw it was in the way she was looking at it as they turned in the asphalted driveway that swept around to the shed in back. I'm sorry. Her eyes sweeping the blank windows, her mind already ticking away at such matters as curtains and oilcloth for the cupboards and God knew what else. Daddy, Aileen said from the back seat. She had stopped crying as well. Even Gage had stopped fussing. Louis savored the silence. What, love? Her eyes brown under darkish blonde hair in the rear view mirror. Also surveying the house, the lawn, the roof of a house seen off to the left in the distance. The big field stretching up to the woods. Is this home? It's going to be, honey, he said. Hooray, she shouted, almost taking his ear off. And Louis, who could sometimes become very irritated with Aileen, decided he didn't care if he never clapped an eye on Disney World in Orlando. He parked in front of the shed and turned off the wagon's motor. The engine ticked in the distance, which seemed very big after Chicago and the bustle of State Street and the Loop. A bird sang sweetly in the late afternoon. Home, Rachel said softly. Still looking at the house. Home, Gage said complacently on her lap. Louis and Rachel stared at each other. In the rear view mirror, Eileen's eyes widened. Did he, was that, they all spoke together, then all laughed together. Gage took no notice, only sucked his thumb. He had been saying ma for almost a month now, and had taken a stab or two at something that might have been da or only wishful thinking on Louis' part. But this, either by accident or imitation, had been a real word. Home. Louis plucked Gage from his wife's lap and hugged him. That was how they came to Ludlow. That was chapter 1. Moving on to chapter 2. In Louis Creed's memory, that one moment always held a magical quality. Partly, perhaps, because it really was magical, but mostly because the rest of the evening was so wild. In the next 3 hours, neither peace nor magic made an appearance. Louis had stored the house keys away neatly. He was a neat and methodical man. Was Louis Creed in a small manila envelope which he had labeled Ludlow House. Ludlow House keys received June 29th. He had stored the keys away for this trip in the Fairlane's glove compartment. He was absolutely sure of that now they weren't there. Oh, wait, he had stored them in the glove compartment. He was absolutely sure of that, but now they weren't there. While he hunted for them, growing increasingly irritated and a little worried, Rachel hoisted Gage on the other hip and followed Eileen over to the tree in the fields. He was checking under the seats for the 3rd time when his daughter screamed and then began to cry. Louis, Rachel called. She cut herself off. Or she's cut herself. Wait, what? Oh. I don't know what I read it a little bit wrong. Louis, Rachel called. She's cut herself. Eileen had stumbled out of the tire swing and hit a rock with her knee. The cut was shallow, but she was screaming like someone who had just lost a leg. Louis thought, a bit ungenerously. He glanced at the house across the road where a light burned in the living room. "All right, Eileen," he said. "That's enough. Those people over there will think someone's being murdered." "But it hurts." Louis struggled with his temper and went silently back to the wagon. The keys were gone, but the first aid kit was still in the glove compartment. He got it and came back. When Eileen saw it, she began to scream louder than ever. "No, not the stingy stuff. I don't want the stingy stuff, Daddy, no." Eileen was just mercury chrome. Sorry. And it doesn't sting. Eileen is just mercury chrome and it doesn't sting. I don't know if I pronounced that right, sorry. Be a big girl, Rachel said. It's just, no, 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 no. You want to stop that or your ass will sting, Louis said. She's tired, Louis, Rachel said quietly. Yeah, I know the feeling. Hold her leg out. Rachel put Gage down and held Eileen's leg, which Louis painted with mercury chrome in spite of her increasingly hysterical wails. Someone just came out on the porch of that house across the street, Rachel said. Oh wait, someone just came out on the porch of that house across the street, Rachel said. She picked Gage up. He had started to crawl away through the grass. Wonderful, Louis muttered. Louis, she's tired, I know. He capped the mercury chrome and looked grimly at his daughter. There, and it didn't hurt a bit. Fess up, Ellie. It does hurt, it hurts. His hand itched to slap her and he grabbed his leg hard. Did you find the keys? Rachel asked. Not yet, Louis said, snapping the first aid kit closed and getting up. Gage began to scream. He was not fussing or crying, but really screaming. Writhing in Rachel's arms. What's wrong with him? Rachel cried, thrusting him almost blindly at Louis. It was, he supposed, one of the advantages of having married a doctor. You could shove the kid at your husband when the kid seemed to be dying. Louis, the baby was grabbing frantically at his neck, screaming wildly. Louis flipped him over and saw an angry white knob rising on the white side of Gage's neck. And there was also something on the strap of his jumper, something fussy, squirming weakly. Eileen, who had been quieting, began to scream again. B! 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 She jumped back, tripping over the same protruding rock on which had already come a copper, sat down hard and began to cry again in mingled pain, surprise and fear. I'm going crazy, Louis thought wonderingly. Do something, Louis. Can't you do something? Got to get the stinger out, a voice behind them drawled. That's the ticket. Get the stinger out and put some baking soda on it. Bubble go down. But the voice was so thick with down east accent that for a moment Louis' tired, confused mind refused to translate the dialect. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce, because it's written with the down east accent and I'm not even gonna try. He turned, but it's the same thing that I already read earlier, so you're not missing anything. He turned and saw an old man of perhaps 70, a hale and healthy 70, standing there on the grass. He wore a Bibles over a blue chambray shirt that showed his thickly folded and wrinkled neck. His face was sunburned, and he was smoking an unfiltered cigarette. As Lewis looked at him, the old man pinched the cigarette out between his thumb and forefinger and pocketed it neatly. He held out his hands and smiled crookedly, a smile Lewis liked at once. And he was not a man who took to people. Not to tell you your business, Doc, he said, and that was how Louis met Judson Crandall, the man who should have been his father. I'm gonna stop there, 'cause my voice is getting tired, and my neck is getting tired, and I'm getting restless. So, I read 2 very short chapters of Pet Sematary, and I hope you enjoyed it. I might make more parts where I read like more chapters of this book, but right now the 2 first chapters is good for now. I'm sorry for mispronouncing some words and having like wrong punctuation on some sentences. I'm not, like I said in the beginning, I'm not that good at English, and I'm trying my best. But yeah, it's pretty hard to read out loud in English for me. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any video suggestions, then please comment them down below, and I will try to do everybody's suggestions. And if you enjoyed the video, you could subscribe if you want to. Anyways, I hope I see you in my next video. Bye bye.